For a long time, Star Citizen has faced a light fighter issue, with these ships dominating the game space for various reasons. A significant portion of the player base, including myself, seems to be tired of this. The purpose of this video isn't to belittle or diminish the importance of light fighters or those who enjoy them, but rather to reposition them from the apex predator role they currently occupy by assigning them a more balanced and important role. This adjustment aims to allow other classes of ships to stand out and feel more defined. Before I begin, for the purposes of this video, I will consider all single-seat fighters, from the Gladius to the Lightning, as light fighters, since they are the focus of this discussion. The Ares series of ships are not included in this, even though they are single-seat, as they are highly specialized. They're more akin to a bomber for the purposes of this discussion. I will also be avoiding multi-seat fighters such as the Hurricane and Scorpius, because they will require their own separate video to properly discuss. Why light fighters are powerful. Light fighters are potent for several reasons. The first and most obvious is that they can handle everything in the game. No matter the size of ship, you can, in theory, destroy it with a light fighter. They are also the most convenient and easiest ships to use for combat gameplay loops. You can simply log in, go to an ASOP terminal, and pull the ship. You don't even need to wear a flight suit if you don't want to. There is zero logistical overhead to running a light fighter. If you die, so what? You just respawn, run to the ASOP, and pull another. In contrast, running a crewed ship requires multiple players and coordination. Or, doing ground missions requires you to buy weapons and equipment. You actually need to prepare for other activities in Star Citizen. But with light fighters, you just hop in and play. Now that last part, I don't consider that to be a huge drawback for the game, and I would actually like to see this accessibility extended to other parts of the game. But that too is another topic for another video. Why people defend light fighters. These types of ships have been the dominant class of ship for so long that they have developed a culture around them. That is the danger of allowing imbalanced or unintended design to linger in a game for such a long time. A culture will form around those poor designs, making it much more difficult to change it in the future. Even if the change is for the better of the game, you will get a loud base of players that will fight tooth and nail to resist the change. The quote-unquote light fighter meta, as it is known in the Star Citizen community, is a perfect example of that culture taking root, and any change made to it will automatically be met with resistance. Why should light fighters be changed? Because they are the apex predators of the game and invalidate all other combat ships. That is why light fighters should be changed. They serve any and all purposes, from personal transportation to the de facto best choice for combat. Using any other ship is far more inefficient, and doing so will usually put you at a disadvantage. These ships should have a role and be very good at their specific role, but for that to happen, we need to consider the concept of rock, paper, scissors balance. Roles provide choice, and choice is fun. A lot of players in games are in love with the idea of specialization. They want to fulfill a role and do their best to master it. Currently, the game doesn't accommodate that mindset at all. You're either in a light fighter, or you're content for those who are in light fighters. By creating well-defined roles, you allow players to make a choice in what they want to excel at, and give them a purpose to practice and improve in that role. Perhaps you want to be the best bomber pilot in the game, and you're in love with that idea. Because of that, you practice at it. You advertise yourself to an organization as a bomber for hire, and you fulfill that role. It becomes part of your identity and your life within the verse. On the flip side, maybe you want to be a hotshot fighter pilot and shoot down those bombers, or dogfight people and win a ton of 1v1s. You could do that now. It is the only combat role being catered to currently, and that is the issue. Rock, paper, scissors. You will often hear players dismiss the notion of rock, paper, scissors balance as simple and unskilled. To be one who gives that concept a dismissal usually means that the person isn't understanding the purpose of this balance concept or what it means in the context of a multiplayer computer game. This balance concept is incredibly important for helping to define the roles of ships in this game, and without it, we will have what we have now, which is a large number of ships without a true gameplay purpose or value outside of role-playing. LARPing, really, not even real role-playing. Because in the game's current state, the only ships you would be flying are the Arrow, Gladius, Hornet, or Lightning. No other ship matters, and these ships can, in theory and practice, do everything above and below their class and weight. The light fighter isn't rock, paper, or scissors. They're dynamite, and they counter everything. Hard counter versus soft counter. Another proposal players often have is to use a soft counter concept of balance over hard counters. Rock, paper, scissors is a perfect example of the hard counter system in place. A soft counter is a very romantic concept that players often think allows a player to, quote-unquote, express their skill and defeat things they otherwise would not be able to. A soft counter is a counter to everything if played correctly in theory, and this is bad. The reason this is bad is because of scale. Star Citizen aims to be an MMO, and with MMO comes size. The more you scale up, the more soft counters you bring. If you have a ship that can, again, in theory, soft counter everything, and you bring enough, you now have a hard counter to everything. This could be seen in the current version of the game, whereas if you were to bring enough lightnings to a battle, a ship that soft counters everything above and below its weight class, you now have something that can counter everything, including ships theoretically designed to counter it, such as the Hammerhead. If you follow a balanced concept of soft counters, you are going to diminish the value of ships specialized in hard counters. Why bring 5 Ares Infernos, a ship designed to be strong against a larger ship but weak against smaller ones, when you could bring, say, 5 Lightnings, which can, if played correctly or brought in sufficient numbers, counter anything above and below their weight class. This is the true issue of a soft counter system in an MMO gaming environment. If something can competently fight anything but specializes in killing nothing, they can and will counter everything in sufficient enough mass. Also, and it's important to note this, that while I am using the Lightning as an example, it is not the focus of this video. The same could be done using the Gladius, the Arrow, or the Hornet. This is very much a general light fighter issue and not a lightning issue. I want to be very clear about that. How to allow skill expression using rock, paper, scissors. This part is usually the hang-up that players have. The erroneous belief that this concept of balance will remove skill and apply to every facet of the game, including ships facing ships in their own class. That is not the proposal being made. This concept of balance will only apply to ships and the roles they fulfill. Within those roles will be ships which perform the overall role in a different way. The role of the ship never changes, just the way they fulfill that role. I am not proposing that a specific light fighter counter another light fighter by virtue of existence. I would like for light fighters to combat one another and succeed through the pilot's knowledge and understanding of his ship's strengths and weaknesses versus his opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Rock, paper, scissors does not apply here. An example would be one ship is best used to quote-unquote boom and zoom, while another is better at a rate fight. That is not rock, paper, scissors. That is ship performance, and how well you use that performance will determine who is the winner, and that is part of the skill. So what would the rock, paper, scissors be in Star Citizen? The way this concept of balance would work in Star Citizen is to apply each category of ship a role. And I will only be using this logic for ships currently in the game. Just what we have now, no concepts, nothing like that. Rock. Hammerhead and above would be your rock. Paper. Bombers would be your paper. Anything which is designed to kill a ship the class of a Hammerhead or above. Think the Eclipse, the Ares, the Gladiator, anything like that. Torpedoes, etc. Scissors, the light fighters, Gladius, Hornet, Lightning, Arrow, you get it by now. This concept would allow for ships to start fulfilling roles and fleet compositions to have meaning. No more omni-role ships doing everything. This would create balance, teamwork, and give CIG a base to start from and expand upon. In theory, by following this concept of balance, you will create a flow to battle and create logistical considerations that must be taken into account. Rock will require escort from Scissors to get protection from Paper. I envision bombers and their escorts facing off against larger ships and their escorts, each ship having a role they must fulfill to the best of their ability to swing the battle in their favor. Right now, that doesn't happen, and will not happen unless balance changes are made. How to make bigger ships matter. Balancing rock. The reason light fighters can destroy larger ships is because of the lacking armor system, but also because of shielding. Since the armor system is not in place, let's focus on the shield part. Size 3 shields and above behave like all other shields in the game. They have hit points, they take damage, and eventually they fall. If not attacked for a certain amount of time, they will begin to recharge. Because of this, even a lone light fighter will eventually get through the shield and begin to damage the ship itself. I propose that shields size 3 and above have a constant regeneration effect, meaning that it is also regenerating even when under fire. This would have very little impact on ships dedicated to countering larger ones, but would prevent a single or small number of light fighters from getting the shields down. On the flip side, if you bring a significant amount of light fighters, you can inefficiently, and that's the key word here, inefficiently wear down the shield and begin to focus on weaker parts of the ship, such as the engines, the turrets, whatever it may be. Armor would, of course, when it comes in the game, prevent you from destroying the ship. This increased durability to larger ships would ensure that you want to bring dedicated bombers to a battle. Otherwise, you're simply not killing these things. How to make bombers matter. Balancing Paper. This is a simple one, really. Dedicated bombers, such as the Ares or the Eclipse, are best suited for destroying the bigger ships. As a matter of fact, they're the only ones capable of doing it. They are hopelessly defenseless against light fighters and will rely on escorts to protect them on their way to the target. That is the trade-off that they are going to have to make, since they are the only small ships with the power to damage or destroy the larger ones. I do not believe they should be able to one-shot a ship like the Eclipse does, and I hope that gets some balance in the future. But they are a threat that cannot be ignored. How to make light fighters matter. Balancing Scissors. And here we are at the light fighters. The whole reason this video was made. You may think I have no love for this class of ships, but you would be wrong. I simply want them to have a role. Due to their proposed inability to harm the larger ships, they must escort the bombers, which are capable of damaging the larger ships, because the bombers are incapable of defending themselves from light fighter escorts. They would also possess the ability to chase and intercept slow-moving torpedoes and destroy them before they connect with their target. They would also be able to intercept and destroy the slow-falling A2 bombs before they hit the ground. The light fighter has a role in all of this, and it is an important one that only they can reliably fill. This creates a battle dynamic where one class of ship will depend on another to accomplish a goal together. Historical example: torpedo bombers and fighter escorts in the Pacific Theater. Now, you know I don't like to do this, I don't like to bring real life up a lot, but it's going to make sense to you, and I think it's important that for this one time I do. Drawing inspiration from historical events, we can observe a parallel to the proposed dynamics in Star Citizen. During the Pacific Theater in World War II, torpedo bombers like the TBF Avenger were escorted by fighter planes like the F-6F Hellcat, creating a symbiotic relationship between different ship classes. This historical strategy exemplifies the interdependence required for a common goal. The torpedo bombers, specialized for dealing damage to larger ships, relied on the protection provided by the versatile and nimble light fighters to safely reach their target. In a similar vein, within Star Citizen's universe, the Hornet and Gladiator can be likened to their historical counterparts. The Hornet, akin to the Hellcat, is a versatile and reliable fighter that can fill various light fighter roles. And the Gladiator, comparable to the Avenger, is serving as a bomber with a focus on heavy-hitting capabilities. This comparison emphasizes the strategic importance of different ship classes working together, echoing the historical use of torpedo bombers and fighter escorts during wartime. The proposed rock-paper-scissors balance system in Star Citizen aligns with these historic parallels, promoting teamwork and coordination among diverse ship classes. This not only enhances the, and I do hate to say this, enhances the immersive experience, but also encourages players to adopt specialized roles for effective teamwork. Chris Roberts' vision, quote-unquote, World War II in space. Chris Roberts has often described his game as World War II in space. This means different things to different people, so I'm not going to put too much stock in it, but I think that this vision aligns with the proposed balance changes, emphasizing the need for specialized roles and teamwork. In the same way that historical warfare required coordinated efforts between different aircraft types, Star Citizen's gameplay can benefit from a rock-paper-scissors balance, where each ship class serves a distinct purpose in the larger conflict. By doing this, I think we can get closer to that World War II in space idea, and also get some pretty good gameplay out of it too. Things I did not discuss and why. I purposely avoided the discussion of armor in detail because it is not implemented in the game, and I do not really want to speculate on what it will actually do because I simply don't know. I also avoided multi-crew heavy fighters and multi-crew bombers. They would be best discussed in another video dedicated to them and their role. Finally, I avoided concept ships such as the Perseus because they too are not in the game yet, and I do not wish to speculate on their theoretical role and performance. I wanted to focus on what we have and what can be established as a base to work from. Everything else will come after that. Conclusion. In conclusion, addressing the prevailing quote-unquote light fighter meta in Star Citizen is not about diminishing the importance of light fighters or the enjoyment players derive from them. Rather, it's an earnest call for a more balanced and purposeful approach to ship roles within the game. The current dominance of light fighters as all-encompassing vessels undermines the potential for diverse gameplay experiences and hinders the fulfillment of specialized roles. The proposal for a rock-paper-scissors balance system, inspired by historical parallels and even sort of echoing Chris Roberts' again quote-unquote vision of World War II in space, it seeks to bring a strategic depth to Star Citizen's gameplay by assigning specific roles to different ship classes, with rock as the larger vessels, paper as the dedicated bombers, and scissors as light fighters. The game can actually foster quite a lot of teamwork, coordination, and meaningful choices for players if we start getting that foundation in place now. And I think it's really unfortunate that we're not there yet, this long into development. But I digress. If you've made it this far, thank you so very much for listening. Hit me up in the comments below. We can talk about this, and if you like it, share it around. Let's get some dialogue going. I read and respond to all of them, so let me know what you think. Even if what you think is even if you want to tell me how much you hate me. So, thank you.